Hi everyone, I'm Amy from the Cauldron, and in today's episode of Dye Time I'm going to be speckling on top of this yarn. This is 10 grams of Superwash Merino nylon sock yarn, and it's been dyed with Shiitake mushroom, which is Fibre Reactive dye from Dharma, and I'm going to be speckling on top with Shiitake mushroom from Fibre Reactive dye from Dharma. Now this is this has been pre-soaking in water and vinegar. I'm being very, very gentle with this. Now the reason I'm doing this is because when I get new dyes, I like to dye little swatches, little 10 gram swatches in a 1% depth of shade, which means 1 gram of dye per 100 grams of fibre. So I dye these with 0.1 gram of dye, just so I can get a little feel of what the dyes look like. And then I have all these little skeins that left over that I want to do something with. And Shiitake mushroom breaks in the most beautiful way. And I wondered if I could capture some of those breaks. So I've got the Shiitake mushroom base, and then trying to speckle on top and capture some of those breaks, which is what I'm hoping to do. Now, I've got my gloves on. I do have a mask on. And this is on some cling film because I'm going to steam this. If we're going for a little close-up, you can see in some places, like over here, we've got specks of yellow, specks of pink, and specks of blue. I love this about Shiitake mushroom. It just breaks beautifully. I think that's because these fibre reactive dyes are designed to be used as liquid dyes. So when you use them as powder, they separate, which is wonderful for speckling on yarn because I think it looks brilliant. And when I'm doing ice dyeing on clothing, I love when the dyes separate into the colours. So I'm going to leave this here for probably about 5-10 minutes, just to let the dye settle. Hopefully some of it will dissolve and not be quite so powdery. And then I'll come and flip it and see if I need to speckle on the other side. But since this is only 10 grams of yarn, I might not need to flip it. This has been sitting here for about 10 minutes. I'm just going to flip it over, and I'm going to very, very lightly speckle on this last side. Make sure my hands are completely dry. I don't want any moisture getting into my little pot of dye. I'm going to be very, very light with this. When I've done this before, I've kind of gone overboard on the second speckle and just ruined it. I don't want to do that this time. So I'm just being very, very light. This powder's quite fine, so, and because it's the same colour as the yarn, I'm finding it quite hard to see where I've actually speckled. But there we go. I'm not going to ruin it. That's all I'm going to do. I'm not going to add any extra. I know I always say, oh, I'm not going to add any extra, and then I do. But this time, no, I'm not going to. I'm going to carefully wrap this up. I don't mind if it gets a bit smushed. I'm not going for super fine speckles. I can't do them. And I will work on my speckling technique. I know that it will be easier to get super fine speckles if I mix the dye with some citric acid, so the dye spreads out further. But here we go, my little yarn wrapped up in lots and lots of cling film. I don't usually use quite so much cling film, but I have another project in my steamer which I do not want any of this Shiitake mushroom getting on. So I'm just going to lift this up. Oh, there's a lot of dye coming out. I'm just going to tuck this down the sides there, and fingers crossed Shiitake mushroom won't drip out. We'll see. I'm going to let this steam for maybe probably about 40-45 minutes, and then we'll see what we've got. Here is my steamed tiny little skein of yarn that has cooled down now. It's been sitting overnight. Right, let's wash this. Doesn't look like there's any bleeding, which is good. Going to add a little bit of washing up liquid to this. Still doesn't look like there's any bleeding. With this, because I did use dry dye powder, there could be unbound dye. But it doesn't look like it actually, which I'm really happy with. I'm not too worried about bleeding on this skein specifically because this is just for me. I'm not selling this. If this was something I was going to sell, then I'd make sure that the water is running clear. And that does look like the water's running clear. But because this is just for me, I'm not overly concerned. I've got some other skeins that I have over dyed that just don't want to run clear. But because they're just for me, I'm not too worried. This, all right, I'm happy with this. I can now hang this up to dry. And here is my finished double shiitake mushroom dyed yarn. Now originally the yarn was this colour, so if we compare the two, you can still see that original base colour coming through. The speckles haven't overtaken it. But let's look at those fun speckles. This is the whole reason I chose shiitake mushroom. We've got pinks, blues and yellows all the way through this, and we do have dark brown patches as well. So we've got such a great range here, and I'm so glad that I didn't go overboard with the speckles because we've still managed to get the base colour and we've still got all the splits from that shiitake mushroom dye as well. This is the second time that I have dyed a skein of yarn with the same colour twice, where I've done kettle dyed the yarn in a paler shade of the colour and then speckled on top. Now I've still got these 5 skeins left to over dye. Should I speckle the same colour on those? Let me know down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. Do please click like and subscribe to my channel. Leave a comment down below, let me know what you thought of this video. Would you like to see me do this technique with a different colour, with a different dye? Let me know. I publish a new video every Monday, usually around about 6 PM UK time. And in those videos I like to do different experiments. I really love experimenting on these 10-gram skeins of yarn. So there should always be something different and interesting to watch. Thank you so much for watching.